live. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Blake Ruffino, and this is Are You Serious Sports. We hope that you are making it a good one. We know that we are as well. Boy, has it been a day. Boy, has it been a day. The joy down in my heart said not Ed Orgeron or anybody at LSU. But that's not going to stop us from having a very good show tonight. That's not going to do it. So I did get a little pushback from the rant from last night. It's probably going to trickle over back into the first 15 minutes because it continues to meticularize. I'm not going to be as animated. I'm not going to yell as much. I promise tonight I'm not going to yell as much. But there might be a little ranting. There might be a little bit of ranting. But before we get started, guys, I see all the comments. I appreciate it. We'll get to those in just a quick second. To tell you about tonight's show, Gator Dave from Gators Breakdown is going to be talking with us at 7:15, 7:20-ish. He'll be coming on with us. Stephen Miller is going to be joining us again. My man's killing it with the Maction Minute. It's always a pleasure having him on as well. How will the Saints fare versus the Philadelphia Eagles now that Jalen Hurts is going to be the starter? But before we get into that, we will take some of the calls at the end of the show as well and get to some of your comments. But before we get to all of that, you know what time it is. Go see my good friends over at GM Varno & Sons. GM Varno & Sons has faithfully been serving your Denham Springs and Baton Rouge area for over 62 years. With their highly trained technicians, there's absolutely nothing that they can't do. RV repair, big rig overhauls, motorhome chassis, routine maintenance, tire sales, tire rotations. No job is too big or too small over at GM. Give them a call today at 225-664-9992. That's 225-664-9992. And tell them Blake Ruffino sent you by. And if that car just ain't starting no more and you want a new one, go to the number one Ford car salesman in all of the state of Louisiana, Mr. Woody Clark, over at Robinson Brothers Ford. All you got to do is hashtag Ask for Woody. Go see all of their great inventory at RobinsonBrothersFord.com. That's RobinsonBrothersFord.com. RobinsonBrothersFord.com. And he will be there to take care of all of your needs. Okay, I see a lot of the comments. I see a lot of them. Ready for some AYS, says Dylan Landry. That's what I'm talking about. Let's go. Cade says, go Tigers. Michael Ray says, I saw this from Michael. What did he say? Don't hit us with the Remember the Titans quote. You damn Skippy. Because listen, let's just make sure that we're very clear here. Now, I got some pushback on the rant last night about Ed Orgeron. Well, let me tell you this. Why? Why do you think that I got the pushback? Because if you start hitting all of this stuff that's going on with LSU with facts, at the end of the day, to all 101 of you, at the very end of the day, you're not being real with yourself if you think that there's not bad stuff going on with at LSU right now. Let's take everything outside of the field. Now, I have told all of you that have watched AYS, we have not talked about it much because it's something that I did not want to talk about. I didn't think it was relevant. I wanted you guys and girls to come in here when you listen to Are You Serious Sports that we talk about sports. But now we've gotten to a point. Now we've gotten to a point where everything that's being affected is going on off the field. Now, you'll see in the comments up above, hashtag Ruffino's rants. And with that, it has culture. Let me tell you this, because I got this right before we came on. Well, Blake, how can you criticize Ed Orgeron after last season? Well, because let's take a look at what happened after the simple fact that you won the national title. Ed Orgeron goes on the media with Fox News and talks politics. Right after he comes out, you have players start opting out. Tyler Shelvin, Jamar Chase, Apu Ika transfers. Kerry Vincent opts out. Neil Farrell opts out. 5 guys that all would have been playing. And during the season, Miles Brennan got hurt. Now, that's not any fault of Ed Orgeron. But however, you have Terrace Marshall and now Eric Gilbert, who also wants to opt out. So you mean to tell me that Ed Orgeron should not take any of the blame whatsoever for what's going on right now? This morning, Ed Orgeron went on off the bench with Jordy Culotta and T-Bob Hebert. Now, you got to give T-Bob credit where credit's due. He asked him the very, very tough questions. And quite honestly, I wasn't expecting that. But when Ed Orgeron was asked by T-Bob Hebert about Eric Gilbert and what the status of him was currently, he said, and get ready for it, his body's hurting. His shoulder's hurting. Now, I know that we talked about it on the show last night as the news was breaking. Let me tell you this right now, and here's the truth. BS. That man's body ain't hurting. He might have a little nick here. He might have a little knack there. But to say that he's not playing on Saturday is because he's injured? Come on now, dog. Come on. And let me tell you this. I've gotten to a point where I can't sit here and stick up for a man who's going to throw a player under the bus. The conversation that he had with you yesterday, the conversation that he talked to you about, should not have been leaked out by you on radio. Now, let me make this very clear again, because I got to a lot of pushback about my take about Ed Orgeron. I do not hate Ed Orgeron. I don't think Ed Orgeron is a bad guy. I don't think that he's a bad coach. Not right now. But you can't tell me for 1 iota and 1 second that everything that's going on with LSU right now, not just on the field but off, is not a telltale sign of what it is to come. Oh, well, his body hurts, says Eric Gilbert. Well, hell, we're about to have on David Waters, who their team has probably the best tight end that we've ever seen in college football history, and Kyle Pitts. You think that they're not going to be looking for him now that Kyle Pitts is probably going to be going? Well, not probably, but will be going. Hell, I saw a thing today that they have him going to the Patriots, which, by the way, is kind of crazy. But Ed Orgeron has to start taking the blame for things that's going on in Baton Rouge. And for all of you defending him, for all of you that want to defend him, I don't understand why. So all 182 of you that are watching us currently right now, the biggest question I've gotten all day long, is the sky falling? Yeah, the sky's falling. You have sexual allegations that are coming out. More to come, by the way. And you're going to ask me the simple question, Blake, is the sky falling? Absolutely. There's not a question about that. Now, David Waters, hashtag Gator Dave, who was on with us a couple of weeks ago, is going to be coming back. And I'm looking forward to talking to him about the game. But if you're Florida, you might as well be sipping that whiskey now, big dog, because you're going to beat LSU. And for all of the great rivalries, Jacob Hester, the 4th and 4, the Tebow jump pass, which, by the way, is the hated pass in Louisiana, Dave. I saw you just came in. Is the most hated pass in the history of Louisiana, the jump pass. But don't tell me that Ed Orgeron gets a pass. Don't tell me that you got credentials because your grandpappy's grandpappy went to Louisiana State University. I'm so sick and tired of hearing the excuse. Last thing, and we're going to get to Gator Dave. I am so sick and tired of hearing the excuse every single day from Ed Orgeron. It is every single day, and it's not acceptable. Speaking of Florida, they fired a guy by the name of Will Muschamp because it wasn't acceptable. Now, he didn't win a national title, and I get that. But 3-7 is what you're staring at. The barrel is staring down a 3-7 season. And Blake, they lost a lot of people to the NFL. So what? So what? Make sure that some of those guys come back because Alabama, Clemson, Florida's done it a little bit. They seem to get those guys to come back. Sorry, I missed a lot of your comments. But we're going to get to Gator Dave. All right, before we get to our good friend, Mr. Gator Dave, you got to go check my good friend over at Area Home Lender, Mr. John Patton. With all the help from the Federal Reserve, it has pushed mortgage rate down to the lowest that they've ever been. Yes, the lowest ever. If you're considering buying a new home, saving money on that mortgage that you have now, or even doing that cash out refi, the timing has never been better. 225-663-2500. That's 225-663-2500. Tell them Blake Ruffino sent you by. All right, Gator Dave, my man. Dave, look. I don't know how much you caught of the opening segment because I caught you out of the corner of my eye that you were here. LSU's in turmoil. I want this from an outside perspective, okay? Because Urban Meyer has been, struggled there at the end. Will Muschamp struggled there at the end. When you look at LSU right now, what are you thinking when you see all of this stuff going on with Eric Gilbert wanting to opt out? What do you see is going on with LSU right now?
Blake, in a different kind of way. Now, he didn't get, I heard you say this kind of same thing. He didn't win a national championship, but this really reminds me of Jim McElwain's last year at Florida. Won the SEC in 2015, 2016, his first 2 years. Had built up a lot of goodwill. Now, granted, it was nowhere close to Alabama in those games, but it all come crashing down really fast in 2017. You opened the 2017 season with that big credit card scandal. You got your butt beat by Michigan in the opening game. Then you had the death threats in the middle of the season. You got blown out by Georgia that same week, and you're fired midseason. So it kind of reminds me of that in a way. You go back even to 2015, his first year, the Will Grier incident and all that happening as well. So a lot of what you're saying is kind of what I sounded like in 2017 with Jim McElwain and kind of just being, sit there and kind of rant on about, because there really was no excuse for it at the point. So I get the frustration because, I found myself in a similar position back in 2017 with Jim McElwain.
Well, and Dave, it just feels like that, and Jim McElwain, and that's a fantastic comparison, because Jim McElwain had the problems off the field too, and you just mentioned them. And Ed Orgeron's having those same struggles right now, and this has been going on from August. Dave, LSU has not gone a single week in the last 7 weeks without extremely huge news, devastating news to some fans of something bad happening. And I'm sure that's a lot like y'all felt. And then now Dan Mullen's here, and all is made happy and well, even though I don't like Dan Mullen's play calling. It always stresses me out, and I have to drink my AYS bourbon whiskey. Dave, let's get to this game. Look, we talked about it a little bit in the past when this game was first supposed to be going on. They're going to air it out, right? I mean, the running game has been struggling. So what do you believe? What do you want to see from a struggling LSU team? What do you want to see Florida come out and try to do and establish before they get ready for Alabama in a couple weeks?
Yeah, it's so probably a thin line in a way of kind of where you think Florida is at the moment. Once they got that win versus Georgia, are you in the camp that they maybe lost focus, maybe kind of dialed it down a little bit? And that's maybe why you've seen the offense not live up to the high bar that they set the first half of the season. They're still scoring points. They're still putting up yards, but it hasn't looked as good the last 3 weeks. Does that have anything to do with being complacent a little bit after you finally got that big Georgia win? But the problem is Alabama's in the same situation, and you've seen them the last 3 weeks only get better, and Florida's just kind of been status quo a bit. So I know from talking to many Gator fans, it's like, hey, maybe we're just kind of saving some stuff. But my thing is, you're not going to know that until you play the game. And look, don't get me wrong. Mullet, he'll have a wrinkle. Well, I mean, look, the wheel route versus Georgia, that is not a staple of Dan Mullen's offense. That's something we haven't seen at all. And we saw it time and time again versus Georgia to make a big difference in that game. So he'll have something dialed up that way. My thing is, overall, if you are dialing it down, if the focus isn't there, can you really just flip the switch? Is it really that easy to flip a switch to go beat probably the best team in the country? That's my worry right now. If you are dialing it back, if the focus isn't there because you went and got your big win, how easy is it going to be to flip that switch?
Dave, that's a great point, because and LSU fans will remember this very, very, very vividly. Okay, the Auburn game right before Alabama, LSU scored 23 points, and they kind of lackluster, right? Where they were like, oh, well, we know that we're going to beat them. Bo Nix is a freshman. And I'm going to be honest, it was probably the most stressful 2 weeks of my life, because I'm like, man, the last time we saw them, they got demolished in the trenches. And I think that you're right here, that you want to see Florida go out there and impose their will. But look, LSU is struggling. Is there something that's happened since the last time that we talked on air that would scare you from LSU? Or because I don't know really. I mean, LSU has some talent, and they showed that they can keep the game close until Alabama starts blowing them out and they can't do anything. Is this game to you a comparison game? Like, hey, we saw what Alabama did last week. We have to try to replicate that?
I think so, this being the last game before we see Florida and Alabama play. And LSU is the common opponent 2 weeks before that for Alabama, for Florida. So whether it's fair or not, the comparisons are going to be there. And it doesn't have to be the same score. It doesn't have to be the same, point total win differential for Florida. But I do want to see when I think they're going to be on their game. In the first half, did you go do what you were supposed to do? If LSU can't score and the offense is getting the ball over and over again, do you go score more often than you don't, or not? Or are you still struggling to put up points? I get the dialing down argument and stuff. To me, it's a little bit of hope until you actually see what plays out. But I mean, we'll be able to pick him. I mean, like Kyle Trask probably had his worst game of the season. And he still threw for 430 something yards against Tennessee. But you could tell, he was a little uncomfortable. Probably held onto the ball a little too long in some spots. So maybe just I want to see the Kyle Trask we saw the other 8 games of the season when Florida and LSU match up, because this past defense for LSU struggled all year. And this is, an offense for Florida that should, I think if you want to get in gear, if you want to be smooth going into the SEC championship game, whatever your game plan is versus Alabama, I want to see that worked on versus LSU. And that probably goes part to where I go back to, can you flip the switch? Flip the switch right now. Flip the switch right now. Get everything in gear. Have it running smooth. So when you go to Atlanta, you're scoring points from the get-go, because that's going to be a shootout game.
And Dave, I feel like championship teams have to have that game, right? Like, regardless if you have a loss or not, championship teams always have that game that they flip that switch. For LSU last season, it was Texas A&M. After the 7 overtime loss in College Station, Joe Burrow sipping his bottle like he's Kermit the Frog with the tea, like that was a game that they flipped the switch. And I agree with you there. The one question that I have, and because look, all of my in-laws who will be coming here for Christmas are Gator fans. Okay, so I'm going to have to hear it a little bit because I dished it out last year, which is fine. Their biggest concern is the right side of the offensive line for Florida.
Yep. How
bad is that being, and what can they do to fix that this late in the season? Is there really anything they can do? And I know, because I've been listening to you a little bit on your shows, is there really anybody behind guys on that right side of the line that they could possibly this late in the season maybe rotate and get in there to see if they could do some a better job?
Yeah, I'll go back to before the season a bit. Ethan White was going to be the starter at center, and that was going to probably put Brett Heggie at left guard, and the thought was probably going to be Richard Garage, who's playing left guard now, is going to be your right tackle, along with Stuart Reese, to transfer from Mississippi State, playing right guard, who was recruited by Dan Mullen and John Hevesy there. So you thought that was going to be it. Ethan White goes down with an injury. Heggie goes to center. Garage goes to left guard, and that kept Gene DeLance, who was the weakest part of a weak offensive line last year, that kept him at right tackle, and that kept Stuart Reese to transfer from Mississippi State. He was going to play right guard, probably either way. Gene DeLance just has not grown at all from last year. He is the weak link still on this offensive line at the right tackle position. And if you look at it, you've seen bright spots of Michael Tarquin and Josh Braun and Ethan White on that right side together. They're young guys, but when they've been out there, they've impressed a bit. But Gene DeLance still gets trotted back there. And when Kyle Trask is back there, he's only been sacked, I think it was 8 going into the Tennessee game. I think they gave up 1 or 2, so 9 or 10 times on the season. That's not a lot of sacks, but it's mostly because of what Kyle Trask has been doing, not because the offensive line's been blocking really well. It's Trask getting the ball out. It's Trask maneuvering the pocket. It's throwing and play calling part of it, throwing on time, and getting rid of the ball. Have they gotten better? Yes. Have they taken a step from about the midpoint of the season on to now? No. That's probably the most disappointing part because they had a good performance versus Georgia. They had a good performance versus Arkansas, and then they've taken steps back against Kentucky and Vanderbilt and Tennessee, teams you thought they would take those steps on. They haven't done it. And Gene Delance, I mean, that right side, it's just sometimes it's a turnstile there. I mean, this past week versus Tennessee, he didn't even move at the snap. He didn't know what the snap count was, and Kyle Trask gets hit. That's inexcusable for all the experience that he has. And Stuart Reese, for all the experience that he had with Dan Mullen and John Hevesy playing in that offense, it hasn't really translated like I thought it would, of being just kind of that stalwart there on the right side and being somebody they could really, really, really count on. He played really well versus Georgia. He got hurt in that game, so he's kind of been banged up a bit. So we'll see. Maybe as time goes on, he gets a little bit healthier. If he's okay, but not just that. Just the piece that I thought he would be there on that right side. But we'll see. I can imagine Bo Pelini and Nick Saban these next 2 weeks. That's what they're targeting. They're targeting Florida on that right side of the offensive line.
I don't know if Bo Pelini's got a prayer nail, Dave. I'm just being honest. I mean, they've been so bad, man. This isn't an LSU defensive. Hey, this isn't Bo Pelini 2007 Jacob Hester, or 2006. Yeah. This, so this isn't. I don't really know. I mean, that 06 game, Florida came out and did their job. They had to do what they had to do, and LSU didn't have an answer in that game. So we'll see. We have a question up here, and Dave, excuse me, I missed it, but it was from Cade, and Cade said that, Dave, do you think that this game comes down to, for the Heisman, between Max Jones and Kyle Trask? Quite honestly, Dave, I don't know. I don't see Kyle Trask in 2 weeks having a game so bad where he loses the Heisman, but I could see Mac Jones having a game and going out there and possibly, I don't want to say moving ahead of him, but just doing enough to possibly be in that discussion even more than Trask. Do you think Trask has won it now? Because last season we knew that Joe won it, right? Like we had already known that he won the Heisman and it was a foregone conclusion. Do you and Gator fans feel that right now, that he's going to be the next Heisman Trophy winner?
I personally don't. A lot of Gator fans do. When Florida beat Georgia, we had the week after, we had our big Gator panel where a bunch of Gator media members get together. And one of the questions that was brought is, Florida going to win the SEC championship game? And I said, no, they'll get beat by Alabama. I picked that before the season, and I'm still sticking by that. Nothing's changed really for me to go pick Florida in that. And they said, okay, will Kyle Trask win the Heisman? I said, no, he won't, because he'll lose in the SEC championship game and Mac Jones will get it. I said that a month ago. And I still feel that way. And the reason I feel that way is I do think Kyle Trask probably has had the better season. But what are the voters out there in California and Utah and Oregon and the Northeast Heisman voters? They haven't watched SEC football all year. They've seen highlights. They've seen highlights of both of these quarterbacks. But what are they going to do? They're going to sit down. They're going to watch the SEC championship game. And I think Alabama's going to win that game. And I think that's pretty much going to be the tiebreaker. All these people who are saying, okay, these are the two best quarterbacks, I'll vote for whoever's going to win this game. I think that's what it's going to boil down to.
Let me tell you this, Dave, and listen, I'm not saying this because you're on here. If Kyle Trask, I mean, can he play himself out? Sure. But if he continues to do what he's doing and he loses it, I don't know, Dave, if there's, in my opinion, something that he could really do to lose it. I mean, Mac Jones is not going to have 40-plus touchdowns. Like at that point, I get what you're saying, and I know what you're saying, and that's a big part of the country. But just for me as an individual, if he loses it, I'm going to have in-laws that are going to lose it themselves. We have a question right here from Husker Barker. Says, #AskGator Dave, how do you think the Gators game plan will be against Devontae Smith? Because what happened last week, and what really got people so mad at Ed Orgeron is he trotted out there and said, well, we were supposed to double Devontae Smith. No, you weren't. You didn't even try. They didn't even come close to trying. What do you think is a way of slowing him down in 2 weeks for the Gators?
A lot easier said than done. I can tell you that much. This Florida pass defense isn't all that great either. If you go and look at what happened, now it's been quite a while since they played a really good passing team. Ole Miss and Texas A&M, the first two of the first three opponents of the season for the Gators. They gave up a whole bunch of yards to Matt Corral and a whole bunch of yards and third down conversions to Kellen Mond there at A&M. So how much have they grown from that? We've seen some improvement as the year has gone on, but you go back to that Georgia game. Now, don't get me wrong. Georgia hits one of those deep passes that they had open over and over again. They probably hit the first one. Florida probably dials it back down a little bit. So I think that kind of got overblown that, they had receivers open all day. Well, they hit the first one. I think Florida dials back down the coverage a bit. So, but with that said, that's part of the reason I'm picking Alabama. I don't know who covers Devontae Smith. I don't know what they do to cover Devontae Smith. If it's me, Todd Grantham doesn't play a whole lot of man defense, but I'm putting Kaiir Elam on him, and I'm going to say, all right, that's our best chance. Mm-hmm. If we get beat, at least we went down swinging. At least we went down knowing we put our best player on defense, our best cover corner out there on him, and that's your job all day. Then you'll bracket him with a safety. That's the problem. Florida doesn't have a reliable safety back there that can help in coverage, that doesn't get lost, that takes the wrong angle, even on a 15-yard slant route that Devontae Smith may catch. I'm afraid Donovan Steiner or Sean Davis or Brad Stewart just dives at his ankles and misses, and he's off to the races. So hopefully Kaiir Elam's on him all day, and you take your chances there.
Dave, and I think that Alabama has that same concern when Florida has Kyle Pitts, you got Tony, you have Grimes. Look, LSU didn't score a lot, and I'm just throwing this out there. Now, I think that they'll beat Florida too, and I don't mean that in the wrong way. I just think they're the best team in the country. Yeah. But LSU with 4 true freshmen and a sophomore scored 14. With a true freshman quarterback throwing to Kayshon Boutte, there were some busts and there were some bust coverages for Alabama, which leads me to believe, and we've seen this from Ole Miss, that they can score. If this game's a shootout, Dave, is that really the only way you could see Florida possibly winning this game? Because I don't think any offense is going to really get slowed down at this point.
That's where I think it is a shootout type of game. Florida has to win. We talk about the run game and it struggles. I don't think Florida has to run the ball. I think that Florida has to pass the ball. Florida has to do what they do well. Trask has to get the ball to Pitts, has to get the ball to Tony, has to get the ball to Grimes. And that's not to say go out there and throw it 75 plays. This is not Mike Leach. Dan Mullen's not Mike Leach. He's not going to go there and throw the ball 70 times. But he showed against Tennessee, Trask threw for 49 times, I think, almost 50 times. So he's not afraid to let Trask go out there and sling it when he has to. And I think he's going to have to versus Alabama. And I do agree. We haven't seen – there's not a lot of great passing offenses in the SEC. You got Florida, you got Alabama, you got Ole Miss, you got A&M up and down. But your most consistent are Florida, A&M, Florida, Ole Miss, and Alabama. Mm-hmm. Well, Alabama can't play themselves. And they're about to play Florida in the SEC championship game. They played Ole Miss. Both defenses played Ole Miss. Both struggled. How much did both of those defenses grow from early in the season to where they're going to play some passing offenses against each other in the SEC championship game? So that's why I kind of pick Alabama. I believe in their growth just a little bit more on defense than I do Florida's growth on. I think Florida, their offense is on par, better in some ways. Alabama's offense is better in some ways than Florida. But I still think Alabama's defense is probably taking that necessary step to get a couple stops on Florida, and that'll be the difference in the game.
Dave, we have a couple questions, and Stephen Miller asked one. He says, what's your favorite Alabama-Florida game, non-Tebow games? But I'm going to flip this into an LSU. Well, let's ask that one first, and then we're going to flip it. And I know that we've talked about this before, but I forgot. But we're going to ask you the Florida-LSU one. But right off of the top, Stephen asked, #AskDave, what's your favorite Alabama-Florida game, non-Tebow?
This one's easy for me. 1996 is my first Florida game in person ever in the Georgia Dome. 96 SEC championship game. Right before the game, we see Texas beat Nebraska. Mm-hmm. That knocks Nebraska out of the national championship picture. Florida had just come off of a loss to FSU the week before, so they needed that to happen. that happens. We go into the Georgia Dome saying, we win this game, we get a rematch with FSU for the national championship game. That's my first ever Gator game, 96, Alabama SEC championship game. It was it was a tough, hard-fought first half. Florida ends up winning, go on to the Sugar Bowl to win the national championship versus FSU that year in the rematch. So personally, for me, that one's mine. That one's mine just because it was my first ever Gator game in person there. So hooked from the get-go. As soon as I turned 16, I was driving from Georgia to Gainesville a whole lot. So,
Right.
yeah. So that was another reason it was so special. My dad doesn't like going to games. My dad's a homebody. He likes watching games on TV. He's just always been that way. But that was his first game as well, and so we went together, and so it was a whole lot of fun there. So Florida LSU, that one's a bit tougher. 2006 was a whole lot of fun. You mentioned the jump pass there. I had just started working for Channel 4 WJXC where I work now, and they put a camera in my hand as I was working for that TV station for 2 months before football season started. I proved I could shoot high school football. And they were like, hey, we're sending you to Gainesville. I'm living the dream. I'm living the dream. Florida LSU rolls around, and I'm probably 15 feet from Tate Casey catching the jump pass from Tim Tebow, and the crowd going crazy. So that one's really, really good. That one holds a special place. 2008 as well. Both top 10 teams, but Florida, obliterates LSU in that game. There. So probably 2006 there. 2012 was really good too. Both hard knocking run teams, and Mike Gillislee kind of has a really, really good second half to kind of break away there for the Gators. But it's been certainly a fun ever since 2003. Florida giving LSU their only loss of the season.
The Fighting Zooks.
Fighting Zooks there. Chris Leeton.
I hated so bad. I hated them so bad for that.
Yeah, but starting right around there. This has been about almost 20 years now that this game has meant a whole lot to both programs and the blood boiling over. But the 2007, man, the Jacob Hester over and over again, and the LSU fans getting Tebow's phone number the game of the week of the game and burning up his phone. I mean, I tell you, this all of Les Miles' fake punts and fake field goals that always just seem to work versus Florida. Everybody, all 90,000 people in the swamp. Hey, here's a fake field goal is coming. Hey, we know it's coming. Never mind. The coaching staff are just oblivious to the fact that a fake punt or a fake field goal is coming. But it's been a fun rivalry for sure.
Mine was 2007, being into that game, just being in the stands. I mean, that's something I'll never forget. I'm more of a homebody too, because I don't like I like going to games. I also don't like going to games, just because I get to see everything. We do the post-game show. But that game for me, Dave, was probably the turning point for me because I was always an LSU fan. That made me like die hard. Yeah. And then in 2009, the jump pass again. And it was was that 2009? No, 2008. 2008, the jump pass. I don't remember what year that. I think it had to be 08.
06 was the Tebow to take the first ever jump pass.
Oh, okay. I'm talking about, if you remember, I think it might have been 08. In 2008, LSU, it was tied like 13-13, and Florida, like Tebow went down and had the little jump pass again. And the second game, that pass went in Louisiana football history that it cannot be ran in high school football. I mean, that's not really, but it's seriously. I mean, but it's been a fantastic rivalry. Dave, one more question and we'll get you out of here. I appreciate you joining the show. Outside of Josh Rogers, Bucknut, who's a big Bill King listener, saying that he thought both of us were like 50 years old, he asked another question and I lost it. But we'll go for Chris right here. He says, #AskDave. Ike Hilliard from Patterson was on that team. Let's go. No, there it is. Josh Rogers says, ask Dave, what's the biggest concern is for Kyle Pitts before going into the SEC championship game? I think that's a good question. Is there something that concerns you about Kyle Trask going into the SEC championship game?
I I probably want to see what he does. Kind of like what I was saying. I probably want to see what he does versus LSU. Because as I said, he probably, and this is nitpicking, so I kind of hate to even bring it up. He played his worst game versus of the season versus Tennessee. Still had 4 touchdowns, still had 430 something yards. I mean, we're nitpicking here, but just maybe just kind of clean it up just a little bit from what we saw versus Tennessee, and his teammates can help him out a bit as well there. But for him, not just keep doing what you're doing. Honestly, I mean, just don't fall off, don't make too much of don't look ahead. Go play your game versus LSU. And then for Alabama, just go play your game. Go play your game. You showed up on the big stage versus Georgia, and just go take that kind of performance in a couple weeks again. So I think you just play really good against LSU and carry it over to Alabama.
I think that they will, and I think Alabama is on the upset alert in 2 weeks. I don't think they can do it, but I think it's going to be close. But Dave, I appreciate you coming on, my friend. As always, you absolutely kill it. Tell everybody where they can find all your great stuff and all your great work.
Yep. Everybody can follow me on Twitter at GatorDave_SEC. Find the podcast, every major podcast platform out there, newsforjacks.com/Gators Breakdown, TV station I work for here in Jacksonville, YouTube version as well for the video version. So everybody out there, Blake, thanks for having me on, and we'll return the favor tomorrow with you on Gators Breakdown.
Absolutely. Dude, I love watching you on Gators Breakdown. It's funny. It's good. It's absolutely everything you need. And look, I don't go listen to a lot of other teams, people who cover other teams. I join in every week and listen to you guys. So I appreciate it, Dave, and we'll talk tomorrow, my friend.
Right. Thanks, man.
Thanks, man. That is Gator Dave from Gators Breakdown, always giving it to us when it comes to all of your Gators knowledge. Sorry, Craig, we missed this. He said, #Dave. Why do you sound – oh, come on. Y'all don't be doing that to the guest. But I'm sorry we didn't get to a lot of these comments. Okay, we do have Mr. Stephen Miller with the Maction Minute coming up now. But before we get to that, guys, don't forget to go see my good friend, Mr. Mike Bazile, our future and our always financial advisors. Guys, if you live for it, you damn sure better plan for it. Give him a call today at 504-343-1576. That's 504-343-1576. And tell him Blake Ruffino sent you by. And for all of your attorney needs, go to the Drake Law Firm. For any personal injury, criminal defense, real estate, or successions, there's no law firm better for you. Call them today or go down to downtown Ponchatoula in Louisiana. Ponchatoula, Louisiana, 154 West Pine Street, and they will take care of all of those needs. Tell them Blake Ruffino from AYS sent you by. It's the man, the myth, the legend. Oh, look at him. Look at the LSU gear right here. He's got the hat. He's got the legend status. Stephen Miller, you're ready to go.
Hey, we just draining that turnip for all the juice we can get from last year, baby. You know how it
is. Yeah, look. All right, let's start off there. I'll give you the floor. Tell me your thoughts. You know everything that's going on with LSU. Everybody else knows what's going on with LSU. What's your thoughts? What are you thinking right now?
Man, it's just it's mind-blowing. It's actually, I mean, it's like you think one way and then an hour passes and then something else happens and then you're just like all confused. But, I mean, it's pretty depressing. I mean, I just have never seen a program drop off so harsh that didn't have something like a Baylor or SMU or USC had a few years back. I mean, this is just unheard of.
Mm-hmm. It is, and it's unprecedented. Like even a couple weeks ago, you look at the Arkansas game and you look at it from 2 seasons ago and you look at it from it now, or last season, and look at it from now, the absolute biggest point differential from a national championship team from one season to the next. That should go and tell you everything that you need to know. I mean, but Stephen, I don't know how, and I'm being honest here, and tell me what you think. I don't know how much of this is on the field. I think that a lot of this has to do with the culture off the field. Do you get that same vibe?
No doubt, Blake. I mean, all you have to do is just listen to it and pay attention, because I mean, it's like we always said, Ed's not going to tell you a lot, but if you listen to him, he's going to tell you everything that you need to know and then some. I mean, if you add up everything and you read between all the tea leaves and stuff, I mean, it's pretty obvious that stuff has been going wrong since June and July and stemmed over into August. And here we are. And then first game of the year, we get just punched in the gut. I mean, and it just started to snowball there. And I just don't feel like there's no one in the locker room that has been able to step up and say, hey, look, we're going to stop this. This is LSU. This is our team. It's going to start with me, and I'm going to stop you, and then we're going to go from there. And I just don't think anyone has, like, played that role this year.
Yeah, and you would have hoped that maybe if Miles Brennan could be that role, even if he's injured or not, but he hasn't played it. No one has really played that role, Stephen. We have a question right here from our financial advisor, Mr. Michael Blazil, who gave you credit for having the best lawn, not just in real life, but in any TV series of all time. He says, #AskMiller, what's your thoughts on the "my body hurts" comment from Arik Gilbert?
Shade to shade, baby. It's just shade to shade. It's just the front being put out there. I mean, anybody knows. I mean, heck, if you've been on Twitter at all from 7 a.m. to now, you've seen countless players from previous years just coming out and just banging on him. It's just like saying back in my day, blah, 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 blah. There's no way that we could have went to coach and said, hey, coach, look, my body hurts. I think I'm going to just shut it down. Like, that's a call for Jack to make and then the staff to make, and then everybody just comes as one and says, all right, look, we got all these test results back, and it just don't look like that you're going to be able to play. But for a player to just come out and say, look, coach, I'm shutting it down. My body's sore. It just doesn't add up, man.
It doesn't add up. And what also doesn't add up either is the simple fact that you have guys, like you said, like, hey, that's leadership, bro. And Mike Bazile just said it. I mean, it is football. And which leads me to ask the question, Stephen. And I kind of alluded to it earlier. And I know that I don't want to just go out there and give up all the info.
Right.
Do you really believe he's hurt? Like, do you really think that he's hurt, or do you think that he's using this as an excuse to get out because of all the bad stuff that's going on?
I don't believe it. So I don't believe it at all, Blake. I mean, it's just point blank blunt. I mean, I just don't buy it. I mean, maybe the guy is, but just judging from last weekend's game, I mean, I just don't see it. It's just how you can just all of a sudden, oh, well, my body's hurt. But I mean, it just goes to show you, because I think I've read four different excuses that have came out and said, well, this is why, or this is why, or this is why. I mean, if you've got that many reasons is coming out, then you know there's something else is going on, and the truth's not being out there. So take it for what you want.
Other than you hitting soft toss home runs and softball like you did today, I mean, your body's going to be hurt. Look, I know that you've just been doing the CrossFit and stuff, and like you talk about, your body hurts. Hell, my knee hurts every day that it gets cold, but I'm not making excuses for it, and I feel like it's an excuse to not want to play. But anyway, all right. Let's get to the Action Minute. What you got for us, my man?
Huge implications this weekend. We got the MAC East is going to be settled this weekend. We got Western playing up against Ball State this weekend. Western Michigan all could have wrapped it up last weekend against Eastern.
All right.
There you go. Had a phone call.
Yeah, there we go. You're back on. Keep going, my friend.
But yeah, Western could have wrapped it up last weekend against Eastern, but they dropped the ball, and now it's a one-game playoff between them and Ball State to get to the MAC championship against Buffalo. So it'll be exciting. I mean, Blake, I was looking at their stats, and these two teams are basically identical. They both pass offense. Western gets 286 a game. Ball State 285 a game. Rushing the ball, Western gets 191 a game. Ball State gets 194 a game. On defense, Western gives up 410 or 409 a game. Ball State gives up 420 a game. So I mean that's just about as identical as you can get it.
Give me Ball State, and you want to know why?
What's that?
I said, give me Ball State. You know why I'm going to take Ball State?
I was having some difficulty or something. I didn't catch
Can you hear
you saying, but Ball State's favored by 2.5. So that lets you know it's about of a pick 'em right now because, I mean, you get 3 points for being the home team. So does I like quarterback at Western better than the one at Ball State? I mean, it's going to be a close one, no doubt. But, I mean, if I had to pick one, I'd take the underdog at Western plus 3 points behind the hook.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay, there we go. You know, I'm going to pick Ball State. You want to know why?
Why is that?
Because they're from Indiana. I have no other reason why.
There you go. They're the Cardinals, baby.
Isn't that the best part of Maction? You just come up with the most random reasons why you're going to pick a team, and you just pick them.
I mean, why else? Why else? This
Steven,
is Max and crazy.
we were just talking to Gator Dave about the Heisman. Do you think your boy for Buffalo should get the invite? If so, because I think Devontae Smith should get an invite. I don't know if he's going to win it, but I think he should get an invite. Do you think your boy from Buffalo is going to get one himself?
2 weeks ago, Blake, I thought or was it last week? So I thought yes, but then they had their game. It was canceled last week, and that really hurt them because now they're only going to play 5 regular season games or 6 games now, or 5 for Buffalo. But them losing that game last weekend really hurt him, and I don't see him even getting an invite now. I mean, as bad as it is, but hey, I mean, it is what it is. But definitely, Devontae Smith should be there in New York with Mac Jones, Trask, the kid from Clemson.
Yeah, maybe Trevor Lawrence. Maybe. Yeah, maybe. But I think it's a 3-horse race. Steven, one more question. We'll get you out of here, my friend. And I appreciate you joining the show.
Oh, yes, sir. Thank you.
LSU's playing Florida this week, and I know that you don't like making predictions on Tuesday.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of things that I wish that we could see from LSU, even in a loss. What do you want to see from LSU this Saturday, and really just moving forward for the rest of the season?
Man, it's just like that we spoke last week. I would really just love to see them just rebound from last week and just play better and play more intense. And it's just keep improving. I mean, it's just keeping young guys on the field and getting them experience and growing. And it's just so we can build from these experiences next year and hopefully have a full off season and a full season. And I mean, if all these young guys can go and play and experience on the road in Gainesville, hey, the sky could be the limit next year if we can get some of these whales in recruiting. And I'm going to say it again, we have to recruit our players that are currently on the team. We can't continue to just let them have a revolving door there at the operations and just let them just click the turnstile. I mean,
I completely agree. And I know that Adam Burrows here, he's got a question, and he means this in all the wrong ways, but I'm going to ask it anyway. He said, hashtag ask Steven or ask Miller, are you worried about all the number of sacks that we've been seeing from LSU now that our tight end is hurt? What's going on over there?
First off, boy, you could take that question and run way to the left with that one. But
that's exactly what he wants to do. He's kind of trolling, but in his own way, he's kind of serious. Are you worried about how bad the offensive line's been the last 2 weeks? And look, it's Cole Taylor time now. Torrey Carter's not playing. Arik Gilbert's not playing. This Saturday. Is that starting to worry you a lot too?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a shock now that we had one was playing, so the other one wasn't playing because, I mean, necessarily you don't want to have a fullback and a tight end in the game at the same time as running their offense. So you was thinking, well, now that we don't have one, so we got the other one, and then all of a sudden, poof, now they're both gone. So so it's going to be interesting. Hopefully we have a lot of quick passes Saturday, and they can – I don't know, man. I don't think it's going to be nice Saturday.
I don't think it is either. I don't think it is either. Well, Steven, man, go ahead. Finish up.
Last game, big game of the weekend, Army-Navy. It's always a great.
Oh, yeah, there is. Give us a rundown on that. Give us a rundown. Who you got?
I got Army, man. Man, I love Army. They're looking strong all year. Had a boneheaded game against Tulane, which I don't know if you actually saw that, but it was on Come On Man. It was on the bloopers and blunders.
Yeah, the kickoff return where they try to throw it across the field.
Oh, my God. Yes, somebody do the worst trick play of all time. But Navy started off the year and did practice contact football for, a couple of weeks, and they came out and they got embarrassed. And I don't think they rebounded quite from that yet this year. But so I really like Army this weekend. But, I mean, other than that, Blake, I mean, you really don't have much. It's just going down the list. I mean, there's not a whole lot to pick from unless you're in like a regional part of the United States, but at like a national scene to say, oh, I want to watch this game or I want to watch that game. It's just not none there. I mean, you got UNC and Miami in the ACC, but I don't know.
Hey, Stephen Miller, Nick, Action Minute. Stephen, I appreciate you joining on with us, my friend.
Later, brother. Have a good night.
Later, man. You too. That is Mr. Stephen Miller. Everybody's saying go Navy. Anchors away. I'm going to go Navy too. Had my grandfather was in the Navy. I'm going to go Navy too. But I had also a grandfather that was in the Army. How about this? Go USA. Go USA. Okay. Les said Patrick Queen INT. Man, you could, for LSU, might have the defensive and offensive rookie of the year. And I'm not sure, and we're going to talk maybe a couple of minutes about the Saints before we get out of here. I was not surprised today to hear that Jalen Hurts is going to be starting for Philadelphia. I was not surprised at all. You know, the Saints have always struggled with rookie quarterbacks, but I don't know if they're going to struggle with this one. Even though Jalen Hurts has the ability to scramble, their offensive line is absolutely horrendous. Now that the Saints have the number one defense in all of the NFL, a big surprise to most, but not to all. I think that they keep going out there and winning. Now that Drew Brees is cleared to play this week, well, he's not cleared to play, but he could come back this week. Not clear to play. I don't think we see him, and I think that you get Taysom Hill. Who would have thought in the beginning of the season that this matchup, who everybody thought would be Drew Brees versus Carson Wentz, would come down to Taysom Hill versus Jalen Hurts? Didn't see that coming. Adam Burrows says it was a serious question. No, it wasn't. I know how Jalen's last start against a Louisiana team went. That's a good point. It didn't look good. It did not look good. My mom says you better go Navy. Well, I mean, look, I picked them in the beginning. Go America, says Jacob Cole. Jacob, I saw your earlier comment about the here it is. I don't care if we're down by 3 or by 30. Show me that swag. I completely agree with that from LSU standpoint. I just want to see him come out there and play with a lot of swag and get ready to go. All right, guys, my name is Blake Ruffino, and this is Are You Serious Sports. We appreciate you joining the show. Don't forget to hit the like and hit the share and share into some groups. We will see you tomorrow night. Peace out.